They called it helping the family. I called it a wire transfer every 5th of the month for 8 straight years. Nearly $500,000. No questions, no strings, not even a receipt. Then one day I got a text from my brother sent by mistake. ATM just paid again. Wanna hit rubies before they blow it all? I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just stood there frozen. And smiled. Because in that moment, I knew I wasn't the one being used anymore. I was the one about to collect. They say money can't buy love. But for 8 years, I tried anyway. $5,000. Every month. On the 5th without fail. It was automatic. Impersonal almost. Like paying a bill. Only this wasn't a utility company or a mortgage lender. It was my parents. I'm Rowan Blake, 33, Director of Product at Advora, a mid-sized edtech firm based in Seattle. If you're picturing ping pong tables and kombucha taps, you're only half wrong. I work 60-hour weeks, lead 4 teams, and answer Slack pings at midnight. But I get paid well enough that when I got my first bonus 8 years ago, I called home and said I want to help. And I meant it. Growing up in a town like Sagefield, Montana, you learn early how fragile comfort is. My dad, Cal Blake, was a mechanic until a shoulder injury took him out of the garage. My mom, Lena, cleaned houses and sometimes babysat for extra cash. My little brother, Eli, and I shared a bunk bed until I left for college. There were winters when the heater broke, and summers when our fridge held more baking soda than food. So when I got my degree and later my 6-figure job, I saw it as my turn. My duty. I set up the transfer, $5,000 a month. No strings, no questions. In the beginning, Mom would call every time the money landed. "You're too generous," she'd say, her voice watery with gratitude. "You're saving us." Dad sent me an email once, just a single sentence. "You're the reason we're still above water." Even Eli, who still lived with them, sent the occasional "thanks, sis." "You're a rock star." I lived alone in a 1-bedroom apartment with gray walls and good Wi-Fi. I didn't vacation, I didn't shop. I cooked at home and invested carefully. Every time I looked at my account balance after that wire transfer, I felt lighter, like I was undoing the past in monthly installments. But then came the silence. By year 4, there were no more thank yous. No updates. No "we got a new roof thanks to you" or "finally paid off that dental bill." The money left my account. The wire confirmation hit my inbox. And then, nothing. At first, I assumed they were busy. Maybe grateful silence was just maturity. But during a weekend visit that fall, I pulled into their driveway and saw something strange. A brand new SUV. High-end patio furniture. My brother Eli walking out of the garage in designer sneakers and a smartwatch I hadn't seen before. I didn't say anything. Not yet. I smiled. I hugged my mom. I handed over a box of pastries from a Seattle bakery they used to love. But something inside me shifted that day. A tiny click, like the sound of a safe unlocking. And it wouldn't be the last. That weekend was supposed to be low-key. Just dinner, some cards, maybe a movie we'd all half-watch while Mom fell asleep on the couch. Instead, it felt curated. The house I grew up in had always been modest. Faded couch, mismatched kitchen tiles, a fridge that hummed like a diesel engine. But that Saturday afternoon, as I stood in the kitchen pouring lemonade, I caught myself staring. Granite countertops. Sub-Zero stainless steel fridge, a brand new espresso machine that cost more than my first car. "Nice upgrades," I said casually. Mom waved it off, rearranging fruit in a pristine white bowl that definitely wasn't there last Thanksgiving. "Oh, just a few fixes. The kitchen needed a refresh, water damage from the old sink, remember?" I didn't, but I nodded anyway. In the living room, the old recliner Dad used to nap in had been replaced by sleek Scandinavian furniture that looked like it had never been touched. Eli lounged across the couch like he owned the place, scrolling through something on his phone. "Nice kicks," I said, nodding toward the shoes he had kicked off by the door. He smirked. "Limited edition, you like 'em? They're bold." I replied, sitting down with my drink. He chuckled. Got them on sale. I glanced at the Apple Watch on his wrist, the newer model than mine. Must have been a good sale. He shrugged. You know, gotta treat yourself sometimes. I said nothing, just smiled again, like always. At dinner, Mom served ribeye steaks, roasted vegetables, and creme brulee for dessert. Not a single mention of budgeting or coupons. When I complimented the meal, she laughed. Well, with your help, sweetie, we've just learned to be smarter with spending. That word smarter landed oddly. Not grateful, not careful, smarter. As if they'd cracked a system. As if I were part of a strategy. Later that night, I offered to help clean up. Mom waved me away, said I should relax. I lingered in the hallway instead, waiting for her to go upstairs. As I passed Dad's office, the door slightly ajar, I noticed something on the desk. A brochure, embossed glossy. The title read, Investing in Lakefront Retirement Living. There were notes scribbled along the margins, circles around numbers, mortgage options, square footage. None of this screamed barely getting by. In the guest room that night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling fan, its blades spinning just slowly enough to make me uneasy. For 8 years, I had sent money without ever asking what they did with it, because I thought asking would feel transactional, like I was keeping score, and love shouldn't keep score, right? But now I wasn't so sure, because what happens when only one side keeps paying and the other side stops pretending to say thank you? I left Sunday afternoon hugging everyone goodbye with the familiar dull ache in my chest. Not sadness, just something like unfinished business. The drive back to Seattle took 8 hours. I listened to a podcast, ignored 3 Slack pings, and tried to convince myself I was just being paranoid. So what if they were finally spending? Maybe they were finally living. Maybe it was none of my business. By the time I pulled into my apartment garage, I was ready to drop it. Then came the text. I had just stepped out of the shower when my phone buzzed. It was from Eli. Eli, ATM, just paid again. Want to hit rubies later before they spend it all on that dock project. My brain stalled. I read it again. And again. And again. ATM just paid again. That was me. I was the ATM. At first I thought maybe he was joking. Maybe it wasn't even about me. Then a second message came through. Eli. Oh shit. That wasn't meant for you. The steam from my shower hadn't even cleared, but my blood was already ice. I stared at the screen waiting, watching the 3 dots appear, disappear, appear again. Eli, sorry. It's just dumb shorthand. Mom said the money hit and I joked. That's all. I didn't reply. Eli, seriously. Just a dumb joke. We all say stuff like that sometimes. You know, haha, family humor. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Then I typed Rowan. How often do you make that joke? He didn't answer right away. 5 minutes. 10. Then finally, Eli. Can I call you Rowan? No. Text. Everything. Now. Nothing. I dropped my phone on the kitchen counter and stared out the window, trying to steady my breathing. In the reflection of the glass, I looked like someone else. Someone stupid. Naive. 8 years. $480,000. And behind closed doors, I wasn't a daughter. I was a deposit. When my phone finally lit up again, it was a screenshot. A group chat titled, Family Fund Participants. Mom. Dad. Eli. The most recent message from Dad read good timing. Her bonus must have hit. Let's finalize the contractor this week. And from Eli 2 days prior. We should have asked for more. Tell her about the plumbing issue again. My chest tightened. More screenshots followed. Talk of upgrades, vacations, Eli's stipend, jokes about me never asking questions, memes. One was a stock image of an ATM machine with a smiley face drawn on it, captioned Rowan on the 5th of every month. I didn't cry. Not yet. I opened my banking app and stared at the scheduled transfer. Next payment September 5th. $5,000. Status recurring. I hovered over the cancel button, but I didn't press it. Not yet, because I knew now I wasn't done. And for the first time in 8 years, they didn't know what I was about to do. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat at my desk with my laptop, a notepad, and a mug of black coffee that went cold within the hour. I'm not just a product director. I'm a systems thinker. I build frameworks, spot inefficiencies, trace back anomalies. That's what I do. And suddenly, this wasn't personal anymore. It was a pattern, a very expensive calculated pattern. Step 1. Access. Years ago, I'd helped my parents set up a shared iCloud account so they wouldn't lose photos. I had admin privileges. They never revoked them. With 3 clicks, I was back in. Browsing their cloud folders felt like peeking into a stranger's house that somehow still smelled like home. There were photo albums labeled things like Retirement Dreams Cabin Remodel Europe 2022. I hadn't been in any of those photos. One folder stood out, Budget Do Not Delete. I clicked. Inside spreadsheets. Dozens. I opened the most recent one. The title Rowan Fund, Monthly Allocation.xlsx. It wasn't even subtle. Column A, Incoming. Rowan Column B. Scheduled Expenses, Column C, Creative Messaging Plan. The breakdown was meticulous. $1,600 month to Eli. Marked living allowance $950. Patio renovation Q3 complete $400. Wine club. Plus entertainment $700. Lakefront deposit, escrow $300. Household necessities $50. Buffer in case Rowan asks buffer. In case I asked. The creative messaging plan was worse. I scrolled through pre-written excuses. Dad's medical test non-insured, water heater broke again. Backyard flooding issue, Eli needs help. While between jobs, each entry included a note. Don't overuse. Rotate messaging quarterly. They'd planned everything. How to ask. When. What lies to use. And I'd fallen for every single one. There was even a section titled Future Proposals with a row that read, Q4 suggests setting up college fund for future grandkids. Leverage Rowan's desire to leave legacy. I stared at that one for a long time. There were no grandkids. I wasn't married, wasn't even dating, but that didn't matter. I was a future vending machine in their eyes. After 2 hours of digging, I found a PDF of a signed document, a secondary credit card authorized user form. They had added Eli to one of my cards, an old one back when I helped them consolidate debt. The card was under my name. The statements had been going to their address. I opened my banking portal, searched, found it. Balance $12,482. Charges spanning back 18 months. Mostly luxury items, online shopping, some flights. All invisible, all under my credit. And then came the worst part. A scanned copy of a postcard from a real estate agent. Scribbled on the back in Mom's handwriting, one more big push. If she buys the inheritance angle, we can lock in the second property. Just make it sound emotional. I sat frozen for a long time. Not sad. Not angry, not even betrayed. I felt studied. Like a client on a sales funnel. Like a lead they'd been nurturing. A few years ago, I would have confronted them right then. Angry, crying, desperate for answers, but not anymore. Now I needed evidence. I downloaded every file, compiled a folder, renamed it their plan. Then I texted one person I knew would understand. Rowan, you awake? Alicia always. What happened, Rowan? I think my family's been conning me for nearly a decade. Alicia, give me 30 mins. I'm bringing pie. By the time Alicia arrived, the sun hadn't even risen. She was still in sweatpants, hair in a messy bun, holding a box of cherry pie, and a look that said, "Tell me everything now." I didn't speak, just handed her my laptop. She scrolled, slowly at first, then faster, then again slower. Her brows knit, her jaw tightened. She didn't look at me until she'd finished the last screenshot in the creative messaging plan. When she did, her eyes were wet. "Rowan," she whispered. "This isn't just shitty behavior, this is abuse." I blinked. What? She sat down next to me, pie forgotten on the counter. Financial abuse, systematic, coordinated, cold. They built a whole infrastructure to manipulate you. They planned your generosity like a business model. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. Because she was right. It wasn't the spending, it wasn't the lying. It was the design, the precision, the deliberate strategy of it all. They were emotionally blackmailing you with obligation, Alicia said softer now. Since the day you got that first raise. I sat back. They're my family, exactly. And they knew that would keep you quiet. I nodded slowly. My phone lit up another text from Eli. "Eli, can we please talk? I'll explain everything." Alicia glanced at the screen. "Are you going to answer no?" I said. Then paused. "Not yet." I pulled my laptop back, opened the spreadsheet again. "Do you know what they wrote here?" I said, pointing. "If she buys the inheritance angle." They talked about me like a mark, Alicia. Like a damn prospect they were pitching. "And you've been funding their entire lifestyle while you lived like a monk in Seattle," she snapped. "You haven't taken a vacation in 5 years. They went to Italy." "That cabin," I muttered. "It was supposed to be a backup home. If Dad ever got sick." That's what they said. Alicia just looked at me. I didn't cry, not then. But something broke open. A quiet click in my chest. The same one I felt the day I saw that SUV. Except this time it was louder. Final. "I'm done," I said. Alicia raised an eyebrow. "You mean?" "I'm not sending another cent. I'm canceling the transfer today, calling the bank, locking the cards, and I'm writing a letter." She nodded slowly. "And what are you going to say?" I looked up at her steady now. Voice calm, no tremble. "I'm going to tell them that I know, that I've seen everything, and that if they want to talk, really talk, they'll meet me face to face." Saturday, 1 p.m., their house. Alicia exhaled. "You want backup? I want you in the car across the street," I said. "With your phone ready. If I text you the word deadline, you walk in." She smiled. "Done." And just like that, after 8 years of silent giving, I stopped being silent. When I pulled into the driveway at 12:57, Eli's car wasn't there, but Dad was. He stood on the porch pacing slowly, phone in hand. When he saw me, he straightened like a soldier. Arms crossed. Neutral face, not a smile in sight. I parked, left the engine running, just in case. Mom opened the door before I even rang the bell. "Rowan," she said, voice breathy like she'd been crying, but her eyes were dry. "Is Eli here?" I asked. She hesitated. "He's not feeling well." "Right," I said, stepping past her. I walked into the living room, the same one with the designer furniture and champagne-colored curtains. The same one where I had once spent Christmas mornings with bed hair and hot cocoa. Now it felt like a showroom, all polished wood and polite tension. Dad closed the door behind me. "So, you wanted to talk?" I didn't sit. I pulled the USB drive from my pocket and set it gently on the coffee table. "I want you to explain this." Mom looked at it like it might explode. "What is that?" Everything I said. Screenshots, spreadsheets, group chats, credit card statements, fraudulent authorizations, silence. I continued, voice calm. "Clinical, cold. For 8 years, I sent you $5,000 a month. I never asked for anything. I paid for your kitchen, your SUV, your fake water heater problems, Eli's so-called unemployment phase. And in return, you called me the ATM. You made memes about me." Dad opened his mouth, but I raised a hand. "I'm not here to argue. I'm here to inform you of a few things." I took out a paper and unfolded it slowly. 1, the recurring transfer has been canceled, permanently. 2, I've frozen and closed all credit cards and accounts where I'm listed as guarantor. 3, a fraud report has been filed with the bank regarding the secondary card Eli used. You'll likely be contacted. Mom's hands were trembling. You don't understand, Rowan. I understand perfectly, I said. You studied me, manipulated me. You built systems to milk me dry. Dad stepped forward. You're blowing this out of proportion. We're family. I stared at him. Hard. And that's what makes it worse. Silence stretched like wire. Finally, Mom asked, voice barely a whisper. Are you cutting us off? I looked her dead in the eyes. I'm setting boundaries. For the first time. Real ones. Then I walked to the door. Paused. Turned back. If you want a relationship with me, you come to me. No money. No excuses. Just truth. And with that, I walked out. I didn't cry until I reached the car. Alicia was across the street like she promised, parked under a sycamore tree. She saw me through the windshield, gave a little nod. I exhaled, unlocked the door, sat down behind the wheel, and for the first time in 8 years, I felt clean. 3 weeks later, I woke to the sound of seagulls, not Slack notifications, not calendar reminders, not another deposit pulling out of my account at 5:00 a.m., just the sea and silence. I had rented a cottage near Westport, Washington. Nothing fancy, 2 bedrooms, uneven floorboards, a stubborn back door that needed a shove. But it had a porch facing the water, a kettle that hissed like a friend clearing their throat, and a view that made me forget what disappointment felt like. I brought no laptop, no work phone, just 3 books, 2 journals, and a box of letters I never mailed. I opened one of them, now dated 2 years ago, meant for Mom, full of worry, questions, please. I folded it up and dropped it into the fireplace. Let it burn. Alicia called around noon. Still breathing, she asked. Barely, I said, smiling. But I'm not sinking. Good, you deserve this. I looked outside. The tide was going out, leaving trails of foam like lace on the sand. I've been thinking, I said, about legacy. Oh no, Alicia teased. That sounds like business talk. No, I said. Personal. I'm starting a scholarship fund. There was silence on the line. For girls from small towns, I continued. Who get into tech? Who don't have backup? Who think being the responsible one means they owe everybody forever? Rowan, Alicia said softly. That's perfect. I'm calling it the 5th foundation, I said. Because of the 5th of every month, she guessed. Because of what it cost me to learn when to stop. I let the wind fill the silence. It howled, then hushed. Just like grief. Just like healing. Later that night, I sat on the porch with a mug of tea. My phone buzzed once, an email from Eli. Subject line, please. Can we talk? I didn't open it. I didn't delete it either. Some things don't need closure. They just need distance. I closed my eyes. The sea air was cold, clean, uncomplicated. And for the first time in 8 years, I didn't owe anyone a thing. Thank you for watching. If you've ever felt taken for granted by the very people you gave everything to, this story was for you. If it made you feel seen, share it. If it made you pause, comment. And if it made you stronger, subscribe. Because we tell stories that say what others only think. This isn't just content. It's clarity, consequence, and quiet revenge. Drop your thoughts below. You never know who needs to hear your story too.